Hey, basketball fans. Basketball season is back, and you know exactly what that means. It's time for you to put your basketball knowledge to the test with one-day fantasy basketball at DraftKings.com. You don't draft a whole team and you're committed to it the whole season. Just one-day fantasy basketball at DraftKings. You can be part of the action every single night. With DraftKings, there are so many different ways to play. You can choose between a public contest where everyone's in it, you're all vying for a huge cash prize, or you can invite your friends and just have a private contest where you can take on your friends. DraftKings has beginner and casual contests where you'll play with people of a similar skill level. You will not start swimming with the sharks. You will develop your skills first. Drafting your team is super simple. You select 8 players to play that night, and you stay under a $50,000 salary cap. The best part is you draft a new team every single day. You get points the way they get points: scoring, assists, block, rebounds, steals, and other stats. There's no better way to turn your love of basketball into cold, hard cash tonight. Hurry to DraftKings.com now. Use the code JALEN and play free with your first deposit for your share of $10,000 in total prizes tonight. That's code JALEN, Jalen, to play free with your first deposit only at DraftKings. The game inside the game. A minimum of $5 deposit is required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me a boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, Dow?
I am David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic.
And we putting it on wax.
We're Jalen and Jacoby. What do we do?
Get to find individuals that have supported this program consistently over 6 years, exactly what they want, when they need it. Whether radio, podcast, television.
We've been tracking this for a long time. Right now, it is Kyrie Gate, day 41. It has been 41 days since Kyrie Irving requested a trade, and he has still not been traded. There's still some little controversy about Isaiah Thomas's hip and whether that's going to go through, or do they want another asset? Well, Isaiah Thomas spoke with R. Wojnarowski and said this, quote, "There's never been an indication that I wouldn't be back, and there's never been an indication that this is something messing up my career. Maybe I'm not going to be back as soon this season as everyone wants me to be, but I'm going to be back, and I'm going to be the same player again. No doctor has told me anything different than that." That's great. I'm glad he's positive, but there is no timetable for his return as of right now. Are you as confident in Isaiah Thomas as Isaiah Thomas is?
I am confident. And the way he's able to be so effective, herky-jerky, stop and go. He's 5'9", almost averaged 30 points on a team that was the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference that includes LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's like a Porsche with a stick shift. And he's lefty, and he's crafty. I do think he's going to come back. I do think he's going to continue to be a productive player. When you get injured, a lot of times as an athlete, of course there are going to be those that knock whether you can do that level of recovery. So he's going to have a couple of things that he's going to be inspired to play big-time basketball about. Number one, he's going to get a chance to play with LeBron James and likely against the team that traded him in the conference finals. Number two, the team that traded him decided that they did not want to pay him, which is why they moved him.
He's playing for the Brinks truck. He's playing for the Brinks truck.
No question about it. That he can actually find a way to sign on a dotted line and get the maximum deal he played himself into. So a motivated and healthy Isaiah Thomas is one I expect as the season progresses.
So here's the thing that's kind of baffles me. I've been watching sports and have been in sports media for quite some time now, and every time someone gets injured, there's always kind of a timetable. It's always, 4 to 6 weeks or 2 months, or he'll be back in mid-February or this or that. Why is there none of this with Isaiah Thomas's hip?
It's always best to never do a timetable.
Keep expectations low.
These things always come back and haunt the team and or the player. Look no further than the Chicago Bulls and how they handled the Derrick Rose injuries multiple times. You can't necessarily dictate when a player's going to come back. My mentor, Doug Collins, with our network says this best. Just because you're a great player doesn't mean you heal faster.
No.
We saw this happen with Kevin Durant when he was dealing with his foot injury. Did he come back too soon? When is the timetable for him to return? It's always best to never give one. When you see the player out there performing, then practicing, then going full speed, and then getting cleared by the doctor, guess what happens after that? He gets a chance to come back and play.
Exactly. There's also this angle. Like, we've been talking about this literally for 41 days. Then we wanted a trade, and then maybe he could trade here. Then he finally got traded to the Celtics, and now the trade hasn't officially gone through. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Dickie V has spoken. Dick Vitale, our guy, Dickie V has ended the whole thing. He says on Twitter, and I quote Dickie V with the scoop.
Shout out.
Hey, I love the start. My hoop sources tell me the deal with the Cavs and the Celtics will be agreed upon and happen. I love that Dickie V got in front of this, was just like, you know what? I'm doing this. This is going to go down. What do you think about Dickie V's journalistic reporting?
The legend, the seasoned veteran. I remember being so enthusiastic that he even knew my name. When he called me a PT peer, oh man, it was over at that point. But here's the thing. When you've been around as long as Dickie V has, here's how he sources information at this point of his career. In the steam room, in a hot tub, getting an executive. He's hanging out with these guys that own the team.
Yeah, he knows their dads. Yeah, he knows their dads and stuff. It's just like, it's just going to happen. They're like, yeah, I love it. And you know what? Usually at ESPN, you have to like go through the newsroom and show your sources. You know, we've all been a part of this here at Jalen Jacoby. We don't do those sorts of things. Dickie V's he's on our train. He's like, you know what? This is what I heard in the steam room. I'm just going to tweet it. And then when it all happens, well, I'm not going to get the credit for it. But that is fine. Some serious journalists and also our colleague, a gentleman by the name of Zach Lowe.
Get low. Get low.
I'm sorry, a gentleman by the name of Zach Lowe.
Get low.
I don't know why that still makes me laugh. He's saying that the Bucks are kind of circling. The Bucks are like, hey, maybe if this doesn't go through, let me just drop a little call in to, you know, Kobe and Dan over in Cleveland and see if they like this little package that we're putting together with Rookie of the Year Malcolm Brogdon, who was impressive and dunked on LeBron James last year, and Chris Middleton, and just to sweeten the deal, just a starter negotiation, but they would probably finish by throwing in a pick. If you were the Cavs, would you consider this amongst all this drama?
Right track, wrong train. This is one of those things when you see a team do a deal with somebody else, you're like, I should have came correct the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too late.
Yes, you know when the Pacers traded Paul George, everybody around the league was like, what? Oladipo, it's a bonus? Yeah, I should have sweetened it up a little bit this time. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. I do think it is going to be the trade that we always thought it was going to be. Do you know why? Because Dickie V said it. You know, that's why. Dickie V says it's going to happen.
Oh, baby!
Another basketball legend, Peter Vesey, had a very interesting report. He is reporting that Kristaps Porzingis did not skip the exit meeting with the Knicks because he was upset about Phil Jackson. He is saying he was upset with Knicks head coach Jeff Hornacek, who told Willie Hernangomez to tell Porzingis to stop playing like a bleep. Whoa. When you hear this, what do you think?
I got a harsh reality for everybody out there that can hear my voice.
Uh-oh.
Sometimes your critics are true.
Oh, no. Don't do that to KP. He's like 22 years old. He weighs 130 pounds.
I'm not finished. You're already making excuses for him. Here's the thing. All I remember is him getting a nickname from the great Kevin Durant as the, what?
Unicorn. Not the strongest, fiercest animal in the kingdom.
Okay, and I love that he listened to that he watched World Star. I do too. Mm-hmm. But I must say this. Those two words don't necessarily equate. You can't be going to World Star and have your coach talking to you like that. That's one. Two, I actually did some research, what I don't normally do.
Wait. You did research for the show?
I did. And I got some news for KP, who's a 7-footer, a terrific three-point shooter, will dunk on you, can be physical, but fouls way too much. Here's what big-time players do that get the acclaim playing on the big stage that he's gotten. And I'm one of the first to say that he deserves. The Cavs and the Raptors have 3 All-Stars and 2 respectively. Mm-hmm. Isaiah Thomas, Kemba Walker, Paul George, Jimmy Butler, John Wall, and the Greek Freak were all all-stars that led their team to the playoffs. And by the way, Kristaps actually played with an all-star last year. Oh, Carmelo Anthony is on his squad. So I have advice for him. Shut up and ball.
I have advice for Coach Hornacek. If you want to disrespect Kristaps Porzingis, don't tell his boy to tell him. That's the part I don't like. Like, oh, hey, Willie Hernangomez, you go tell Kristaps Porzingis this is what I think about him. You know that's not management, Jalen. That's not how you manage it.
No. Let me tell you how it works inside of the foxhole, sir.
Okay.
Some players need a pat on the back. Other players need the kick in the butt. Before they go and tell your boy, that means they've told you 55 times.
Well, let me tell you something. That may be how it works in the NBA locker rooms. That's not how it works in low-level cubicles and major corporations, Jalen Rose.
Hey, girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips, too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Jalen Rose, I don't gamble on sports. I know you don't gamble on sports. But that doesn't mean I'm not highly interested in some of the predictions that Vegas has for the upcoming NBA season. One thing that Vegas does well is set over-unders and set betting lines. That's how they make all their money. And sometimes you look like you want to bet on a game, like, oh, I really want to bet on this game. And then you look at the line, you're like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to be on that. So I'm going to go with some over-unders, and you're going to tell me how you feel about them. And I'll also provide the win total for the team last year. Some of the most interesting teams that have changed a lot over the offseason we will start with. The Minnesota Timberwolves did not even sniff the playoffs last year, winning 31 total games. However, Jimmy Butler, things change. Taj Gibson, things change. They are now projected to win 48.5 games. That's a 17.5 win increase from last season. How do you feel about that?
I like it. Good bet. Take it. And Wiggins is going to get a max deal. And you failed to mention a 3-time Sixth Man of the Year, Jamal Crawford.
Good point.
And their best player, Karl Anthony Towns, who's going to be flirting with 20, 10, and 2 blocks this year.
So you would say over 48.5 wins.
Well, there's a reason why I, in particular, not only don't bet on sports, but don't bet on basketball. I truly think it's an unfair advantage. I wouldn't want to do this job no more. I just try to make a living betting.
Oh, I thought you were just doing the casinos a favor. I thought you were doing those billionaire casino owners a favor by not stealing their money by betting on basketball.
This? Make sure everybody remember these predictions.
Okay.
Take them to the bank. Take the over on Minnesota. Take the under on the Lakers.
All right, so you brought the Lakers. They are projected to win 33.5 games. They had 26 wins last year. So I guess they're saying that Lonzo Ball replacing D'Angelo Russell is going to get you 7.5 games a year. Do they know something we don't? Is there a trade or something happening?
Take it to the bank. They won't win that number of games.
Your Indiana Pacers last year were one game over 500 at 42 wins. They traded Paul George for Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis, and now all of a sudden they're projected to win 31.5 games. Do you even think they'll get there?
What? I think that's pretty accurate.
I don't know, Jalen. The thing about this is these like season-long over-unders, it's fun to talk about them now, but as you get towards the last 10 games of the year, sometimes teams aren't as motivated to win as you would think. You know, like the Pacers are going to sit there after 72 games, and, you know, they're going to win 25 of them, and they're not going to try to run on a 7-game streak to get to 34. They'll just tank. That's what's going to happen.
Remember my prediction. That's a good bet. Go under.
Under on the Pacers? So they've got the Knicks at 30.5 games, just one game below the Pacers. What do you think about that?
What were you saying about Porzingis again?
Well, I was saying that he doesn't get along with the coach. The coach used some very emasculating verbiage towards him. And
allegedly.
And Carmelo Anthony, who's been wearing a hoodie all summer while he's been playing basketball, will likely not end the season on the Knicks. And now they're going to trade Carmelo Anthony for another veteran all-star. You know how this works. Some young players and some picks. They will not be motivated to win. They will not be around the playoffs. Do you think they will win 30 games? 31 games.
I like the fact that they added Tim Hardaway Jr. Don't be so sure about that Melo trade.
Oh, talk to me.
It's not as easy as people think to get him to Houston because of Ryan Anderson's contract. Mm-hmm. And based on the fact they play in the East, and I think Porzingis is going to have a monster season, Hernan Gomez is going to continue to improve.
I love Hernan Gomez.
They will win over 30. Take it.
Really? So you have them winning 31 games. Interesting. Even as a die-easy Knicks fan, I find that hard to see. But not impossible. So the Rockets obviously added Chris Paul. After a very successful season last year, they had 55 wins last year. This is very interesting to me. Vegas has them winning 55.5. So they're saying Chris Paul is just going to get you half of a win better than last year.
This is where I feel like I'm saving Vegas money. Take the over.
Taking the over.
This is not like betting Floyd versus McGregor and it's a gimme on paper. But for somebody like me that does this for a living, unless there's a catastrophic injury to Chris Paul and or James Harden, they're getting this number.
And there's also this thing where they could be locked into a seed with 3 games left, so they don't necessarily have to win and they rest all their guys. Like, that's what happens in gambling. Like, you have a team that gets 7 points, then some weird field goal happens at the end, it's meaningless, or an interception run back on a Hail Mary.
And this is where the inside information comes from.
Okay, bring it.
I played for Mike D'Antoni. And I know how much he values regular season wins.
Oh, okay. Talk to me.
And so if there's a couple of furloughs to go in the Western Conference race versus rust to get players a higher seed, they'll be out there playing, just like James Harden was this past year. Now, he's already come out and said that James won't need to do that this year.
Nope.
You're right, because they got Chris Paul.
That's part of it. They had the Spurs going from 61 wins last year to 54.5 wins this year. It's a pretty big drop-off for a team that always seems to be around the top of the Western Conference.
I'm going under.
Me too.
Kawhi Leonard is my early choice to win MVP.
Oh, okay.
And because he's going to have a 50-40-90 season, he and or Draymond Green will win Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to average more points, rebounds, and assists than he did last year on a 50-plus win team. But they're not going to get to this number.
This old team got older, and they lost Simmons, who was important to them. They lost Dedmon, who was a good rotation player. Like, I don't think this team got significantly better this year. I think they got significantly worse. I think that's safe to say, right?
And we got to see if they're going to be able to parlay LaMarcus Aldridge into an asset if he traded during the year.
Them trading LaMarcus Aldridge was real hot for like a week and a half. It just seemed like there just wasn't a market for him. Like, they made some phone calls, and then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, nope. That ain't working.
Rudy Gay coming off an injury. He's motivated to prove he's top 10, right?
Rudy Gay is angry. He's motivated by his Y2K rating. That's what it is. Now, you know what? That might get him 2 wins alone right there. Rudy Gay being mad about his Y2K rating. Another one is the Clippers. The Clippers obviously lost their best player in Chris Paul. They had 51 wins last year, the 4th seed in the West. They have them dropping all the way down to 43.5 wins. The Clippers in the past have been successful at absorbing a loss of one of their stars, whether it's been Blake Griffin or Chris Paul. Do you think they can sustain the level of success they had last year, even though they don't have Chris Paul?
This is where I come to the dice game, throw a couple of 7 and 11s, and I snatch up all of the money off of the ground and have people upset at me.
Oh, okay.
The Clippers are going to win more than 43 games.
I think so, too.
They're going to be the sleeper in the Western Conference. Take this bet.
I think so, too. Don't sleep on Danilo Gallinari. Like, maybe you don't watch too many Nuggets games or whatever, but, like, that dude can ball when he's healthy. And their starting five is not that much worse than last year. It's definitely worse than last year, but not like 10 wins worse than last year.
How about this? When you look at their front line, I'm going to already put this out there. The Golden State Warriors, of course, they have 2 All-NBA performers in Draymond and KD.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, LeBron and Kevin Love are All-NBA performers. But as you start to look around the league, you normally see like one guy up front on most teams that play at an All-NBA and or All-Star level, other than the Pelicans, who have Boogie and Anthony Davis. But when I look at the Clippers' front line of Danilo Gallinari, who's 6'9",
yep,
Blake Griffin, who is also 20-10-4, and DeAndre Jordan is going to be amongst the league leaders in rebounds and blocks, they're going to be as good as they come.
I like it, too. I'm excited for the Clippers this year. I really am. I think that Blake, I just want to see Blake and DeAndre happy again. I think they're going to be happy again. That's all I want to see. So, Conor McGregor has a lot of decisions to make. Should he go to boxing? Should he go back to the UFC where there's no real obvious fight for him? Or should he retire? If you were Conor McGregor's advisor, his agent, what would you tell him to do, Mr. Rose?
He got to continue to fight because he gained a lot of fans by going 10 rounds versus Floyd Mayweather.
Gained a lot of respect,
which is going to benefit the MMA crowd, who was already rampant and following his every move. He also has interests outside of the octagon, in particular with his suits and other entrepreneurial pursuits. And the way to do that is to stay in the spotlight. And I agree with you. While he doesn't have this mega fight waiting for him to get in the ring and still crush a couple of people will mean something too.
It would. Would you say go back to the UFC and make less money, or try to stay in boxing and see what happens with Pacquiao or Triple G and Canelo, fight the loser or something like that?
Hit the brakes.
Okay.
Let me just tell everybody something.
Please do, Mr. Rose.
Floyd Mayweather was 40 years old. Each of his fights went 10.9 rounds in his 20-plus year career.
On average.
This fight went 20. He was hanging out at the strip club multiple nights, headed into the fight. It was Conor McGregor's first professional fight, and he lasted 10 rounds, which was a victory. That was the exception. That is not the rule.
Yeah, Canelo, Triple G, I don't know if he would last 2 rounds with either of those.
No. We were fortunate that the fight was stopped when it did, because Floyd was going to get that signature knockout. And the referees and O'Connor's corner and Dana White know it. And that's not a good visual to see him laying down looking up at the lights.
No. And also, I like that he went out and partied after the fight. Like, he was hosting parties, and he still kind of looked good. But you can't host a party when your eyes bubbled like it was about to be bubbled. You can't go to the club like that. Like, they won't even let you in. So you did mention his clothing line, August McGregor, which is what it said on his belt, and I was very confused by that, is a clothing line that he has coming out. He's got some business partners or whatever, and he's doing that. Will you be wearing any August McGregor clothing?
If it's free?
It is not free. I actually read the article. I don't really usually read all the articles that we talk about on this show. I actually read this one. It's like, he's going to be a line of affordable suits. And then it said $500 to $1,200 per suit. Like, wait a second. Your idea of affordable is very different than my idea of affordable, Mr. McGregor. We work in downtown Los Angeles. I can take my bike and ride 3 blocks this way and get suited and booted for like $59.99. They've got 2 for $100 deals over there. Please. Come on, correct, McGregor. So NBA 2K has come out with all of their ratings, and everyone's getting upset about it. And Rudy Gay is especially upset about being left off the top 10 starting small forwards in NBA 2K. He called it, quote, a crock of BS, and he was not talking about the Podfather. What do you make about people getting upset about their ratings?
It's something that he could go out and actually show and prove. Because the difference in today's games versus back in the day, when the rating initially came out, it was going to be that all season.
Oh, okay. The
now
updates.
If you just go out and ball,
you get the
just update it. So it's not really a big deal at this point. Do work.
Be honest. when you knew the ratings came out for video games, we didn't, when you were playing the league, you didn't have Twitter and all this other stuff to find out. But when you knew that they came out, did you go check yours real quick?
I checked everybody's because I was an avid player, including mine. Mm-hmm. I knew I wasn't going to have a Michael Jordan rating.
No.
But I did know that I was getting buckets.
What percentage of the time were you happy with your rating? What percentage of the time were you upset with your rating?
I was happy with it 75% of the time.
Oh, for real? Oh, I'd be upset no matter what. I'd be upset. That's the type of dude I am. I'd be like, no matter what, even if they gave me a good overall rating, I'd be like, nah, rebounding is better than that. I just complain a lot. That's part of my personality. Jalen Rose, it's time for Keep It Moving.
Let's get it.
There's a lot of stories and topics going around sports media. Some of them are worth talking about. We will hit the brakes, break those down. Some of them you just got to keep it moving.
We be moving, keep it moving.
Aaron Rodgers vocally supported the notion that Colin Kaepernick is essentially being blackballed from the NFL because of his protests. Keep moving and hit the brakes. I read an excellent piece by our colleague and friend Mina Kimes. I don't normally read the whole thing, Jalen Rose. I read the whole thing this time, and I found it fascinating. But on this particular topic, what do you think?
Like third base said, black cat is bad luck. Bad guys wear black. Must have been a white guy that started all that. The term blackball in itself is another story for another day. But with that being said, a lot of times it isn't only the message, it's the messenger. Mm-hmm. And when you have multiple people that aren't as notable that find ways to protest and or want their voices to be heard about something that they're passionate about, it tends to have a shelf life. But when you have somebody that's arguably one of the top players in the game, Aaron Rodgers, who just so happens to be from another race than Colin Kaepernick, that speaks a lot louder because, like I've said on this program, he plays the ultimate power position in football, quarterback. So now all of a sudden, if I ask you to name some of the people who have kneeled in protest, sat in protest this year and last year, people get left out. Mm-hmm. But you're going to remember that he spoke out about it. And what he said is accurate, and I appreciate him for doing so.
I think so, too. I thought this was a fascinating article for other reasons. I think when you put Colin Kaepernick into something like this, that's what everybody pulls out of it and wants to talk about because it's sort of like a LeVar Ball, Kaepernick. This is with this sort of like snake eating its own tail sports media thing that happens. But one of the things that the article started with was the feeling that Aaron Rodgers had after winning the Super Bowl, after climbing to the mountaintop. He had this sort of feeling of, all right, now that there's that, what is this about? Like after getting to the heights, after winning the championship, just doing it again, is that really my life's goal? As somebody who's played in the NBA Finals and had an athletic professional career, what exactly is that feeling to you?
You got to be able to separate church and state. That's a level of maturity. There are players that have been retired for years still branding their jersey numbers emotionally on their foreheads. At some point, you got to let it go because there are only so many notable players in professional sports that people actually care and or remember what they get accomplished. Yeah, you're going to have a few people that are fans of yours and fans of the team you play for,
sure,
slapping you on the back. But for the most part, people are going to be looking like, who is that?
Who are you?
Not even knowing who you are.
Are you a rapper or something?
And so based on that, I always talk about the difference between the score of the game and or the game of life. And once you accomplish what Aaron Rodgers has been able to accomplish, be an MVP, be a champion, now you like, what else is there to life? Is this what I do or who I am? And I know people get jaded by hearing multiple champions like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Kobe Bryant and Tom Brady seemingly be excessive over each moment that takes place in their sporting careers. Mm-hmm. But they're unique. They're special. And that's why people are going to remember them and not really know who I am unless somebody else comes up to me and asks me for an autograph. They're like, who? He looked like somebody.
I've seen so many people take pictures with you and then ask their friends, like, who is that? Like, after they stop you to take a picture, they're like, wait, who's that again? I need to put this on IG. I don't even know who that was, though.
All public figures and athletes, it's a level of humility that you must have. We don't necessarily remember your stats, your facts, your figures, or even your championships in a lot of people's cases. They remember the all-time greats, and rightfully so.
It's a good point. I recommend everybody read that article. It's really well done. Next, the Cleveland Browns have released veteran cornerback Joe Hayden. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Keep it moving. It just always is funny to me when, like, he's being shopped one day and then they trade him the next day. Like, the other teams know that you're going to release him too.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's also funny to me that they drop him and then someone else offers him a 3-year, $27 million contract is reportedly being offered by the Steelers. So you're trying to tell me that there's another group of football professionals that are willing to pay this man a non-guaranteed, be it, $9 million a year, and he's worth $0 to you? I find that kind of fishy. Moving on. Eddie George is saying that Tom Brady is severely underpaid. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
I love Eddie George. Keep it moving. He continues to take pay cuts because, like Dirk, don't be surprised when Tom Brady's a part owner of the Patriots one day.
Yeah, he's got the wink-wink
that
deal.
on wax.
He's put some money back into the Patriots franchise, and I don't think he's just doing favors for his teammates. Like, I don't think this is just favors.
Again. Let me say this one more time. Dirk Nowitzki will be a part owner of the Dallas Mavs. Tom Brady will be a part owner of the New England Patriots when it's all said and done.
This came across my purview today, and I found it confusing, and it questioned everything I knew about everything. Prince's sister is saying that his real favorite color was orange. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Hit the brakes. As many times as I went to go see Purple Rain.
I know. As many times he had purple outfits. Like, his whole thing was purple. And you can say secretly his favorite color was orange. He probably just got sick of purple after 20 years. You know? Like, sometimes you just get sick of it. When you got purple socks, you open up your drawers, and everything's purple. All your t-shirts are purple. All your shorts are purple. You're just like, you know what, man? I need to switch this up.
And this probably was the years where he was upset at the label, and he started going by a symbol.
There are reports that the Uncle Drew Kyrie movie is still happening and is projected to open less than a year from right now. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Hit the brakes.
So I don't know too much. I've never made movies. You know, I've made a lot of television shows. I've made a lot of short features. I've been involved in a lot of documentaries, all types of different television shows. Here's one thing I'm pretty sure you can't do. Film a movie and have it release in June of 2018 when he's not going to be done playing basketball until June of 2018. Just throwing that out there.
I'm going to throw something out there for you. You can do it when it's shot in August and September of 2017.
So you're trying to tell me that amidst all these trades, he's learning lines for a script, and he's going to sit there and get makeup put on every morning for this might be a short feature. This might be a 10-minute film.
You just reminded me of something. I actually had somebody associated with the project reach out to me and ask me if I want to participate. And
let me guess, you didn't get back to him.
I just now remembered that I didn't respond.
Jalen Rose, not always hitting you back. Not always hitting you back. You know? Sometimes I have very important questions. You will not hit me back. Sometimes I have the most frivolous thing in the world. You hit me back immediately. You never know. You never know. Next, we have Floyd Mayweather says that sometimes he bets not thousands, but millions on sports. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Keep it moving. For those that have been paying attention, he's been doing that for 15 years, sitting front row doing it.
Here's the thing. I would be way too nervous watching a game. You know, if I put $1 million on it, I would need all the Xanax in the world just so I could sit there and watch it. I'd be climbing up the walls. Finally, Eric Dickerson goes from feuding with the Rams to a front office role. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
I'm happy for ED. Keep it moving. From the Pony Express to becoming a Hall of Famer wearing goggles and a Jerry curl, well deserved. They was like, when is Jeff Fisher leaving? Okay, cool, I'll be back.
Jalen Rose The
Yes, sir.
sports book in Vegas have put out their annual over-under predictions and odds and bets on the upcoming NBA season. I don't gamble on sports, not something I do, but
Mutual.
I find some of this very interesting. I'm going to start with the Warriors. They were picked to win the most games this season, but that's not what's interesting to me. There is a bet, and I believe this is the highest odds in the history of since they've been doing this. If you bet on them to not make the playoffs, the odds are 1 to 1,000. So, Jalen, if me and you each put in $50 and put $100 down on the Warriors not making the playoffs, we could win $10,100. Are you in on this with me?
I'm not in.
What?
You might as well save that 50. They making the playoffs.
What if we each put in $500 to make $100,000 and we hired private investigators to ruin all their lives?
No, you better off rolling down the freeway and throwing that money out of the window.
There's no chance the Warriors don't make the playoffs?
There is no chance at all. But if you're a betting individual, I mean, you're looking for the odds. That's why we're having this conversation. So there will be people, just like in the Floyd Mayweather-Conor McGregor fight, that take all level of bets just because literally anything can happen. But in this case, that ain't happening.
Another one that jumped out to me is they have the Sixers over 500 winning 42.5 games next year. If I said over or under 42.5 wins for the Philadelphia Sixers, what would be your reaction?
I'm not mad at that. That's about right. Here's why. I've talked about this for a season, that Joel Embiid was going to be a player. He came in, showed he could make the three, turn over both shoulders, rebound the basketball, block shots, and everybody fell in love with his personality also.
And they got hurt.
Ben Simmons is about to come in and be ferocious out there, attacking the basket, a terrific athlete, plays with a lot of size. I think he needs to improve his jump shot, but I do think he's going to be a really productive player. They added J.J. Redick in the offseason. We know he's a knockdown shooter.
Sarge
he's going to be
can play.
trying to get a big-time deal. And you talked about Sarge, who was in the running for Rookie of the Year last year. And also you have to take into account that 50 of their 82 games will be played against Eastern Conference competition. And nobody, it's almost like predicting a perfect fantasy team. Say, what's going to happen in the East from 3 down straight?
No one knows. I have no idea. Any team in the East could make the playoffs as far as I'm concerned. Every single one right now. And then we move on to this one. The top of the Eastern Conference, they have the Celtics winning 56.5 games, and the Cavs 3 games behind that at 53.5 games. I think that sounds about right. It seems like the Cavs have devalued home court advantage in the playoffs.
No, we're not going to give them that.
Really?
The Boston Celtics took the number 1 seed last year. And late in the season, the Cavaliers knew they couldn't catch them.
No, they were trying.
So
the Cavs were trying. Like we all remember, but there was that game in Atlanta. Like the Cavs were trying to get the number 1 seed and failed.
And also, so since they knew they couldn't get it, the pivotal game was when the Cavs went to Boston before the playoffs started and beat them. That's when they told themselves, okay, we don't need the number 1 seed. We'll be okay if we face them. And so based on that, I have to give the Celtics credit. They improved their squad. Just think about this. It's virtually unheard of for a number 1 seeded team the next year to return only 1 starter from that squad and get better. That's what they have done. They have gotten better. So I like that number, and I won't be surprised if they even go over.
The Thunder, they have winning 51.5 games, and that would put them in the 4th spot, hosting a playoff series in the Western Conference. You buying that?
That's about right. People know about the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, the Houston Rockets added CP3.
Yep.
I'm still trying to figure out what they're going to do at the 4 and 5 spot.
So are they.
People don't talk about the Spurs, and all of a sudden they're going to be in the top 4.
I sleep on the Spurs every year. That's something I do.
And then OKC can and should be in that mix because Russell Westbrook was the MVP last year, averaging a triple-double. They add a top 10, 12 player in Paul George who's going to be motivated. So that seems about accurate. There's a reason why they build large casinos in Las Vegas They are usually close, if not
They're pretty good at
accurate
this.
at this
It's
stuff.
also one of the reasons I don't gamble on sports. Doesn't always go well. They have the Lakers really improving, but only winning 33.5 games. You know LeVar Ball's upset. LeVar Ball's upset about that.
No. Hit the brakes.
Okay.
I don't bet on sports, but I'm taking that one.
You're taking the over?
They're not winning over 33 games.
No,
That's not
I don't think
happening.
so either. Yeah, I don't think so either. It's like next year, definitely winning over 33 games. But with the current roster as it is constructed, not so sure.
If you don't want it, don't waste the time. Looked up and down, said, I'll take her.
Now we have this. Derrick Rose is kind of forgotten as a new addition to the Cavaliers, as everyone expects Isaiah Thomas to sort of come in and take that spot. But Derrick Rose had this to say, quote, "I'm on a stage I've been dying to be on since I've been in the NBA, and I'm blessed that they even looked at me and considered bringing me on their team." After making $21.3 million last year and just over $2 million this year, are you sure he's so happy about all this?
Absolutely. He said the key word, stage. Had he gone to another squad, i.e. the Lakers, who we just discussed, they won't be playing in big-time playoff games. They won't be advanced to the conference finals. They won't be in the NBA finals. You play well when everybody watching. All of a sudden, you go from making that $2 million and pole vault yourself back into a top-tier salary, plus get a chance to win on a high level. People underestimate the fact the Golden State Warriors have 2 MVPs. KD 1, Steph 2. LeBron has 4. Derrick Rose also has 1. So in the last 7 or 8 years, those 2 teams host all of the MVPs before Russell Westbrook snatched the crown this year. Yeah. So he's been a productive player in this game.
Next, we're going to do this. As we head into the NBA and the NFL season, we'll do a lot of previews and go deep dives on some of the teams and how they have changed over the course of the year. We're going to start with the Rockets right now. The Rockets had one of the most volatile free agents periods in the league. Great team last year. They had a huge trade. The Clippers traded Chris Paul to the Rockets for Pat Beverly, Sam Dekker, Montrezl Harrell, Hilliard, Liggins, Williams, Whitner, and, I didn't know this, $661,000 in cash, and a 2001 first-round draft pick that is top 3 protected. Chris Paul has 2 years remaining on his contract, but he does have an option to opt out next season. So, Jalen, with all of this turnover, an already good team, that, you know, James Harden was the MVP if Russell Westbrook didn't play the season he played last year. With all of the success that they were having, why did they add Chris Paul, and how does that change the team?
Well, when Chris Paul decides he want to come play with your squad, you like, who's starting at the 1 again? Oh, Patrick Beverly? It's been nice. We help you develop. You're a really good defensive player, but we're on the phone with the Clippers. You're a part of the deal. Because Chris Paul has been that level of dynamic. And why do you leave if you're Chris Paul? You felt like there was a ceiling in Los Angeles, so much so that you weren't even an all-star last year.
Yep.
So having a change of venue, I think, will be a welcome sight for him. Playing with James Harden in the backcourt, I think they're going to be as explosive as any duo we've seen. Because Harden put up magnificent, historic numbers last year, being the primary ball handler. Now for him to have somebody that can actually create shots for him, and players like, when you watch the game, notice, Ryan Anderson and Eric Gordon, I paid attention so much to this, I had to look it up. They don't just stand on the three-point line. They both shoot from like 3 or 4 feet behind the line.
And that means that the defenders are 3 and 4 feet further from the basket than on a traditional basketball offensive set, which means there's more space for not just James Harden to get to the rim, but now Chris Paul.
And you're like, wait a minute, how's Nene getting these layups and dunks? Like, how is this going down like this? Clint Capella out here doing work. So I think they're going to improve. I think he's going to also, at the point, bring them a level of toughness that they were also getting, but with the productivity of a guy that can get you dimes and steals. I would not be surprised if the Houston Rockets are the number 2 seed in the West.
Oh, I'm putting that in pen. They will be the number 2 seed in the West, barring some sort of weird energy. injury. But here's one of the things I love about their team, and one of the reasons I'm so confident that they will be challenging the Warriors this year. It's not just the starting five of Chris Paul, James Harden, Trevor Ariza, Ryan Anderson, Clint Capella. That's a solid five right there. But they've got depth. They've got Eric Gordon coming off the bench, PJ Tucker, Bob Mute in case you have to cover somebody, like a wing that comes to town. And you've got Nene and Capella as bigs. Like, that's a good team. You look at a lot of teams, like you look at Boston, they're a little thin in the bench, and and the Warriors are even a little bit thinner than they used to be in the bench since they added KD. Like, this team has depth, and I absolutely love what they're doing. Do you think they will be in the Western Conference Finals playing the Warriors?
It all depends on matchups and what happens with their bigs up front. Like, we get so enamored offensively, and rightfully so. They'll probably be first or second in the league in scoring. Mm-hmm. But once the playoffs come, and we saw this happen to their squad, then they had a couple of terrific performances.
He was like 10 for 12. One game he was 8 for 8. Like, Nene was playing really, really well in the playoffs.
But then you have to decide who's going to be out there. Is Nene going to be able to stay healthy as he gets a little bit older?
He got injured at the end of the playoffs.
Along with Clint Capella. And then people have really taken advantage of Ryan Anderson on the defensive side of the basketball. So it depends on the matchups. So I can't fully commit to saying that they're going to make it to the conference finals, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're the number 2 seed in the West.
I'm almost positive that they're going to make the conference finals, but I'm definitely positive that there's going to be a lot of tension between James Harden and Chris Paul. It's all good now. But we've all heard reports about Chris Paul's intensity and aggressiveness and how he deals with his teammates when he's on the floor. And something tells me that him and James Harden are going to have a little, discussions on the basketball court from time to time. They already did, and it was the Drew League, Jalen. They're already getting into it, and it's the Drew League. At the Drew League. Like, the game doesn't even play defense, doesn't even go across half court. And in that league, with that level of intensity, they're already going back and forth. So we're going to go from one of the top in the Western Conference to one of the middling teams in the Eastern Conference, the Sixers. The Sixers added J.J. Redick, added Amir Johnson, added Markelle Fultz. They lost Henderson, Rodriguez, Thiago Splitter, Sean Long, and Poitras. Another thing they added is Ben Simmons, who hasn't played a game for them yet. This team is drastically better on paper. How do you think that it will manifest itself on the court?
When you take a player, and for all fans, this is what executives think. If you're fortunate enough to get a guy in the top 5 in the draft, you hope that guy becomes a perennial all-star. Mm-hmm. If you're able to get a guy in the top 10, you hope he can play at an all-star level, be an all-star, and or at least lead your team in some statistical categories like points, rebounds, or assists.
They've got
if you get a guy in the lottery, you hope you're getting a guy that could be a starter. If you get somebody in the first round, you expect that guy to be a rotation and or a productive player with upside and or downside that could go either way. Yeah. They have two guys that were taken number 1 overall in consecutive drafts. In Ben Simmons and Fultz. If my theory's correct, along with what we saw with Embiid, this team should be able to pole vault itself over the next couple of years in the Eastern Conference.
And don't sleep on J.J. Redick, because I think everyone looks at the Clippers team, they're like, oh, they got Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. J.J. Redick averaged 15 points a game. J.J. Redick can shoot. J.J. Redick plays better defense than he gets sort of credit for. And he's just a very, very valuable offensive asset when you have people around him that like to pass the way that Ben Simmons does. Yeah. But still, do you think they're going to be a 500 basketball team, Jalen?
I'm not rolling.
You don't think they'll be 500 in the East?
No. Because 500 means you're taking the victories of the last 3 seasons and totaling them.
That's probably true. That's probably what they would have to do. And it just seems like this team does feel like they've got the injury bug flowing through the locker room. You look at all of these people they've drafted, they've all been injured.
And also, it's tough to win in professional sports. And their young leaders, while I believe in their potential and their talent, it's unique that Embiid got injured during the NCAA tournament, so he wasn't able to participate.
Yep.
Ben Simmons and Fultz both led teams to
no tournaments.
Watch the NCAA tournament on television.
Yep. It is hard to win. And you also look at the Eastern Conference, and we always kind of like clown the Eastern Conference because the Western Conference is definitely superior. But when you look at the playoffs, like, who are they going to usurp? Like, they're going to be better than the Hornets? Probably not. They're going to be better than the Pistons? Probably not. Like, there's not too much room to take a spot from another team in the playoffs, but they'll definitely be better than the Pacers. Do you think they'll be better than the Pacers this year?
Possibly.
I think they'll be better than the Pacers.
If those players continue to develop. I mean, they lost Paul George. They have to take a step back.
This I found really interesting. Bill Belichick doesn't really let us in too much. You don't get a lot of insight into the life of Bill Belichick, but he has revealed that he has watched every single preseason game thus far in the NFL season. Is that healthy?
Where's my phone? I need to call LL.
Nope. Let's do that. That's definitely a lie. That's definitely a lie. I saw the ratings for the Chargers-Rams game. Like, there was like 14 people that watched that game. There's no way he got through the fourth quarter of that Chargers-Rams game. That did not happen.
There's not enough time in the day to watch every football game from beginning to end. Especially the way he's going to watch it, because he's going to be like, hit the brakes.
Let me see how that guard pulled to the left. Dana White is claiming that there is a ridiculous number of pay-per-view buys for Conor McGregor-Floyd Mayweather fight. He's claiming 6.5 million, not counting bars, not counting movie theaters. 6.5 million times 100 is how many, Jalen?
6.5 times a million?
That is $650 million estimated just from pay-per-view revenue. What do we always say in this show? Follow the money. Do you know what that tells me? Why not a rematch? Could you see a rematch of McGregor-Mayweather?
Once I knew Floyd was hanging out at his Girl Collections strip club every night leading to the fight, that was his final fight.
That's his last fight. Finally, we have one more piece of news. Beyonce is in talks to sing the theme song for an upcoming James Bond film, which had me wondering exactly how many James Bond films can Jalen Rose name. If you got $1 million for the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy for every James Bond film that you could name, would the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy even get a cent?
I know a couple.
Yep.
Old school.
Yeah, old school ones.
Live and Let Die.
Oh, I think that's one. That's $1 million.
I don't know if I can say this on this program, but the first word is octo.
Octo. There you go. That's $2 million. I'm loving this. And don't forget the video game. The only one I know is the video game.
What is the other
GoldenEye.
one? Casino Royale.
Yep. Woman Crush Wednesday continues here on Jalen Jacoby on ESPN Radio. Blondie with Call Me, which means we're doing voicemails. Remember, if you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. If you leave us a voicemail, we'll play it on the show just like this. It is Woman Crush Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we do celebrate the kinder, more intelligent, more mature, more responsible, generally superior gender of our species, the women. So we got female voicemails today. Let's listen to the first one.
What's up, Jalen and Jacoby? This is Stephanie. First, I'd like to give a shout-out to Reggie. And second of all, I would like to thank my husband for putting me on this podcast. So I'd like to ask you guys, do you think it's possible for a female basketball player to be drafted into the NBA? And if so, what skill set does she need?
And I'm never saying never. I'm never, ever, ever saying never, Stephanie, especially on Women Crush Wednesday. I'm saying yes, and I'm saying you got to hit the threes. You got to be Steve Novak out there, just there to knock down threes.
I'm about to say yes so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen a couple that can already do it, in my opinion. Diana Taurasi comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Candace Parker comes to mind. I remember her at Tennessee watching a scrimmage from the sideline playing against the boys, and she actually dunked on one. Okay? I saw that with my own, too.
And you can also, you have to think, like, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but over time, this will happen. And I hope it happens in my lifetime. This will happen, and this athlete will be one of the biggest names in all of sports.
And easily, from UConn, slasher on the wing. Maya Moore could definitely play in the league. So there are plenty.
Any male listener listening to this right now that thinks that they can play in the WNBA, I'm just going to tell you right now, no. I don't care if you played Division I. I don't care if you even cashed a check overseas playing basketball. The answer is no. Just trust me. Thank you so much for the call, Stephanie. Shout out to your boyfriend. Let's listen to another voicemail.
Hey, Jalen. Hey, Jacoby. This is Kate. I live in Austin, Texas. I'm originally from Bozeman, Montana, though. I got a quick question for you guys. I am a female who gets involved in sports-related arguments, and sometimes that turns into where they apologize for getting heated or something along those lines. In my most recent one, I had a guy tell me that because I was from a state, Montana, that doesn't have a pro sports team, that I didn't have the liberty to choose which team I wanted to cheer for, which was always my thought. I always thought of myself more as like a free agent of sorts. What do you guys think? Let me know. Thanks, you guys. Keep giving the people what they want. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate the love. Shout out. Let me clear my throat for this one. So, a couple of things. As the former jock on this program, my brother David Jacoby is a distinguished analyst with a background in journalism, amongst other things, production. Here's what I learned about sports. Just because you're in the Hall of Fame, that don't mean you're good at analyzing the game. No. And or vice versa. Just because you did not play, that doesn't mean you can't be one of the best. No. If that was the case, we would never have women breaking down NFL football. You know why? They're not at liberty to play in the NFL. So to me, that argument is weak and it doesn't hold up. As it relates to being from some place that doesn't have major sports teams like Montana, just because you come from a major metropolitan city, that doesn't mean you know the game any more than someone else.
Exactly.
That's just attitude and ego. Don't back down. Continue to hold your ground. We got your back.
No doubt. Thanks for the call, Kate. Let's listen to the next female voicemail.
What up, Jalen and Jacoby? This is Dawn from Ohio. Listen, my boyfriend Chris is a huge fan of this podcast, and he keeps telling me about his dreams of joining the minivan mafia. And now we're getting serious, and we're talking about plans for the future, and in those plans, he wants to have a minivan, but it's not just going to be a minivan. He wants it to have big, shiny, spinning rims on this minivan, pulling up to soccer practices, and the rims just keep on spinning and spinning. I want to know, is this a boss move or a soft move? Thanks, guys. Keep giving the people what they want.
Dawn, thank you so much for the call. The first thing I want to say is the minivan mafia is not a very discerning group. You know what I mean? We accept everybody. So whether you have spinners or rims or not spinners or rims, whether you're driving the new latest Odyssey, the most expensive one on the market, or you've got the old Astro that's all rusty and beat up that's been in the garage, you are part of the minivan mafia. You are down by law as a minivan driver. That being said, there's a certain level of self-awareness that it takes to drive a minivan. And one thing about driving a minivan is you're not cool anymore. You know, like it's over. You're not trying to be cool. You're trying to be functional. You're taking function over appearance. And you can't try to hold on. Like, I feel like if you got spinners on the minivan, you're kind of old guy at the club. You know, it's just like, it's over. You know, you can have a second car, Don's boyfriend, but sounds like Don's boyfriend has his head in the right direction, you know, because goals, your goal, if you're single and young, your goal is to need a minivan one day.
I agree with you, and you got to know your audience. And when you look in the mirror, you can't see your agent. You have to see yourself. Mm-hmm. And at some point, as you start to get older, you can't be doing some of the things you're doing when you were younger. Like at some point, you can't keep looking at your phone all day and seeing what the comments are on your post. At some point, you can't just be posting selfies. Like, at some point, you just have to get past it. You got to leave that to the 20-year-olds. And I just want to say something as somebody that respects the minivan mafia and happy we have an expert on this program.
You're an honorary member, Jalen.
I just thought the spinning rims were played out.
More than anything. I thought that too. You know, it's like we're not really doing that anymore, you know. But that's fine. Do you remember Latrell Sprewell's shoes with the spinning rims on them? The A1s?
I do. Dada.
Oh, those were Dadas. That's right. Oh, those are ridiculous. Shout out to those. I need a pair of those. Someone send me some 11.5s. Let's listen to the next female voicemail.
Oye, que bola. My name's Aleida. I'm calling from LA. ¿Qué pasa, though? This is for the pod. This question for your Don't Get Fired topic of the day. My boyfriend Dom, shout out Dom, by the way, is a very adamant listener. And we're both aspiring members of the minivan mafia. And we would like to know if the name Desmond, spelled D-E, cultural. I'm Cuban Puerto Rican, and he's a mixture of Asian Pacific Islander, Hispanic, inspired. Keep giving the people what they want, and keep getting them checks.
I'm going to make a ruling and see if you agree with this on me on this. Not cultural. Desmond. Desmond, very versatile. Very versatile name. Very versatile.
Not as long as you don't name them Shaquille or Denzel. Those names are not cultural.
No.
Gentlemen that are all-time greats, and I love very much. I have both of their numbers in the phone, but that number, that name is reserved for people that look like me.
No, Denzel Crumb has moved that one over. Denzel Crumb has moved that. Yeah, it's probably cultural, let's be honest. Thank you so much for the call, Anita. Appreciate
Jalen's still available.
Yeah, Jalen works for everybody. So Jalen works for everybody. Boys, girls, everything. Let's listen to the next female voicemail.
Hello, Jalen and Jacoby. This is Amber from Springfield, Missouri. It's Women Crush Wednesday, and you guys took a week off, and I'm pretty upset. But my question is, do you think the Boston-Cleveland trade will be vetoed before Thursday's deadline? Reggie, shout out.
Reggie, push the shout out button.
Shout out.
Thank you so much, Amber, for the call. Springfield, Missouri. There's a Springfield in every state, by the way. Dickie V just tweeted that it's going to go through, so it's going through.
Yeah, it's going through.
It's going through. It's going to happen. And just remember what we said the first day we were back. We said it's going to take another second rounder, and that's what it's going to take. It's not going to be another Brooklyn pick or one of these protected picks, first round, mid pick. It's going to be a late pick. I think that this is going to happen, and Kyrie Irving will officially be on the Boston Celtics this time tomorrow. Don't you agree?
I agree. This has gone too far for it not to happen because at this point, it doesn't look good from an owner and management standpoint. It won't look good from a coach and player standpoint trying to re-ingratiate Isaiah Thomas back into the fold when he was your best player last year, and obviously Kyrie Irving going back to the Cavs when he already said he wanted to be moved.
Thank you so much for the calls, ladies. We always love it when we have all-female voicemails on Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we'll be doing the same thing. And don't forget, fellas, ladies, everybody, children, senior citizens, you can call 985-80-JALEN and leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the show tomorrow. Jalen Rose, we have a simple motto on this program. Reggie definitely thought this was the voicemail segment. That's why he played that. Reggie, pay attention. This is the Twitter segment. We open up our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed. That is at Jalen and Jacoby. And we take questions from you, our listeners. We love our listeners, especially the ones that send in multiple questions every day. Appreciate you so much.
Shout out.
First, Jalen, I know you're not prepared for this, but you always give good answers anyway. Who do you think are some underappreciated wings in the NBA? We spoke about one earlier, Danilo Gallinari. Underappreciated.
I got a couple underappreciated wings.
Good.
Louisiana Rub at Wingstop.
Yep, Lemon Pepper in Atlanta.
Lemon Pepper at
so
Hooters.
underappreciated. A Caribbean jerk. Caribbean jerk, way underappreciated. So underappreciated.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Oh, you said it said in the NBA. My bad. We'll move on now. This is from Jeff. Is being in multiple fantasy football leagues at the same time cultural? No. I'm going to say no.
Not at all.
I'm going to say no on that.
That's normal.
It's got to the point where if you only have one fantasy team, it's kind of weird.
Anita Marks is in 15,000 leagues.
No, she's got everybody. Every time she watches the red zone and someone scores, she gets excited, no matter what. Every time someone scores. Oh, thanks, Reg. I love when you get these questions, Jalen. David wants to know, will Michigan have a successful basketball season?
Absolutely.
And how do we define success here on this program, Jalen Rose?
Realistic expectations.
So where are your expectations for the Michigan Wolverines going into the basketball season?
When the season starts, people are going to talk about Kentucky and Carolina and Duke.
Because those are the
and
teams.
Michigan State.
Those are the actual contenders.
Arizona.
Yeah.
And then they're just going to overlook John Beilein and our Wolverines.
Wolverines
Before you know it, we're going to be spreading the floor, shooting the three.
Be NIT champions next year.
And we're going to be in the race for winning the Big Ten, and we're going to be in the tournament.
The NIT.
And at that point, anything can happen.
In the NIT tournament. You never know what can happen in the NIT tournament, you know? I do root hard for Michigan every time they play, though, just because I do the program with you. I really do. Everybody does that. Do you do that? Where you know if your friend is really into a team, when you watch that particular team, you root for them and text them all the time. I do it with Notre Dame and my buddy Chamberlain. I do it with all my friends that have weird, like the Sixers, Chris Ryan. Does everybody do that, or is that just me?
Yes, I do. I do it, too.
Everybody does that. It's also fun because you know you've got a friend who's emotionally invested in the game that you're not. So you just try to catch the tailwind of their emotional investment, try to get yourself fired up about it. I do that all the time. D. Grimm has a question.
Shout out.
Heisman frontrunner off the top of the head, go. I've got some. I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson. Right down the street, Sam Darnold's here. Baker Mayfield.
I'm about to tell you who's going to win the Heisman.
Really? Really? I love it when you have these strong takes even though you are unprepared for the question.
And this may sound sacrilegious. He plays for Ohio State.
Oh.
JT's winning the Heisman this year.
Oh. Remember where you heard it first.
I've seen this guy up close and personal gain his job, lose his job. A couple of quarterbacks have come and went.
Yep.
He's still steady. Throwing, running, leading.
They'll be a successful team. They're going to win games, which always helps your Heisman candidacy.
JT is winning the Heisman.
I love watching Lamar Jackson.
And on purpose, I'm not saying his last name, just like in Ohio, we don't say their last name unless it starts with an F.
So you're not talking about Justin Timberlake, just to be clear.
No.
You didn't like that joke? Reggie, no rim shot? No, Reg? No? Come on, Reg. Please.
No, but I'm just paying homage. A terrific performer. I think he's going to win the Heisman. And you heard it first on this program last year that Jackson was going to win it at Louisville.
Next, we have this. Cavs know they have no other offers for Kyrie, and with tensions to get rid of him, is the ball in Boston's court now?
Absolutely not. Both of these teams need this to happen. And so based on that theory, it will get done by noon on Thursday.
Mr. Wang has a soft move or boss move. My newborn son woke up at 2 a.m. crying. While my wife is feeding him, I'm pretending to sleep and try not to get involved. First of all, that's not a soft move or a boss move. That's just a dad move. Everybody does that. Well, first of all, I always reserve judgment on every single parent on how they do their thing. So whether you breastfeed or don't breastfeed, whatever makes you happy, I don't really care. Good for you. Just raise the kid. Be nice. But generally people breastfeed, and when it wakes up at 2 in the morning and you're a dad, there's nothing you can do. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing. You're going to be a caddy? Like, there's nothing you can do.
Right. Or there's something that you probably could do.
But another thing you can do is just go to sleep. You know?
I mean, it's more than one. You can participate.
You love breast milk. Ping wants to know, what's the most unbreakable record in sports? He says that Wilt's 50 points per game average is up there.
Barry Bonds, 73 home runs.
I was thinking the same thing. It is so hard to hit 73 home runs. I saw a stat, especially under the circumstances that he had, that Giancarlo Stanton, as he is chasing 61 and not 73, he has said that, he's already had more at-bats this season than Barry Bonds had in his season when he hit 73. If you're old enough to remember like the details of that season, he was intentionally walked 2 or 3 times a game. Like I think he was walked 4 times a game one time.
There were times when the bases was loaded and he got walked.
Yes, like he was not even getting opportunities to hit the ball and he hit 73 home runs. Was he the cleanest player chemically? Probably not. Let's be honest. I don't have the details, but like I'm guessing that he was probably violating some performance-enhancing drug rules. But I don't want to take anything away from the accomplishment of hitting 73 home runs with that few at bat and that type of opportunity. Next question that we have from our 1-800-FLOWERS Twitter feed is from Tiny Neff. Will the West keep getting stronger, or will somebody go challenge LeBron in the East besides the Boston squad already?
That's why if I'm LeBron, I stay in the East. I know that everything in Cleveland probably in his relationship with Dan Gilbert isn't pristine, but he has a carte blanche opportunity as long as he's playing at an elite level to win the East. Other than the Boston Celtics.
It's hard to get to the finals. He gets to the finals pretty easily.